it's that extra hour of sleep. I mean, I've kind of been that way all morning, and I haven't even had coffee yet. I mean, usually on a regular morning I have coffee and it helps me go, and I just haven't even had time to stop for that yet. So I'm going to be. If I fall asleep, Rich, just kind of nudge me, and we'll be all right. So before I introduce Rich, I wanted to show you a promotional video for Ring of Hope, so that you kind of get a feel for what it's about and what kind of ministry that they're doing in the Dallas and the North Dallas area. So check this out, and then I'll introduce our guest.
I'm in the ring because it's fun. I'm in the ring because I love boxing. I think it's an excellent sport, and it gives me confidence.
The Ring of Hope came about through conversations between Stephen Bolus and I, the president of United Renovations. He's a boxing enthusiast, and we wanted to create a space for young people to learn about Christ, to create self-discipline, and to build up their esteem.
My hopes for Ring of Hope is that it continues to create a larger and a continued awareness of the need for serving the kids in the inner city of Dallas, and more specifically the at-risk youth.
There's too many kids out here that need the right direction and don't have it, and we're here to provide that, whether it's males or females.
I face challenges like just simple things like struggling in school, dealing with a lot of stuff that goes on. In Ring of Hope, they encourage me. They put strong words in my head, and they challenge me to do better, and they let me know it's a lot of hope for me.
We try to keep them in here and work with them while they would stay out of trouble. And a lot of them, they do change.
If it wasn't for the supporters, my daughter would be sitting at home. She's more active, she's more motivated, and she used to be really shy. She's not like that no more. She loves being here at the Ring of Hope.
A lot of people here, they have a lot of talent, a lot of hard work and effort, so I ask for a lot of support.
The support of the community is very important to the Ring of Hope Foundation. It allows us to help mentor these kids and allows us to get equipment for these kids to work out.
If you're looking for a place to invest, or you're looking for something that's going to inspire and something to be remembered long after you've engaged your time and your talents and your treasures, I would say Ring of Hope is a great ministry to be part of, as well as Dallas Leadership Foundation as a whole. Incredible ministry, really touching lives and really reaching out to the youth.
What I've heard from neighborhood leaders, from parents, from youth around the Ring of Hope is they're excited. They look forward to having a place of their own. They can walk from 3 different neighborhoods that we serve day in and day out to come to this place, work out, have a safe place, have a nice place to call their own.
I'm in the ring because I love the sport.
We're in the ring because we want to stay healthy as a family.
I'm in the ring because it helps me stay out of trouble.
So shortly after we got our Facebook page up and running, Joy tells me, so that this boxing club has liked our page. What is that about? And I said, I don't know. I've never heard of them before. And so we took a look, and then we saw what was going on. And then I called up Rich, and I said, hey, let's do lunch or coffee or something someday. And we got together, and he just has this amazing story of how God has led him on this path to work with this club and to do this kind of ministry. And I was just thinking, boy, you guys have got to hear this. This is really good stuff. And it's such a great opportunity. I've already been asked by a pastor in the area, or no, I think it was the police chief. He said, so that Ring of Hope, are they affiliated with you guys? Because we've got the same Hope in our name. And then Hope and his Rich and his family go to Hope Fellowship. So there's just hope everywhere. It's just kind of, there's just this weird thing going on there. So anyway, Rich has got a great story, so I wanted him to share that with you today. So if you'd please help me welcome Rich Locks.
Okay, thanks.
Have a seat.
Well, thank everyone for having me today. I really appreciate everyone bringing me and in here, and Steve asking me to be a part of this. I've been really excited about everything that's going on with the Ring of Hope and just what God, where He's leading me in this walk. I grew up in Iowa, and I was boxing when I was like 6 years old, and it's been I grew up in low income area, and my family was low income. A lot of my cousins were either doing drugs or doing crime, and a lot of them were just going down the wrong path. And my mom got me involved in boxing to try to keep me out of that down that path. So it was really it was just it was something that I really needed at that time, and I had I'd done really good in boxing, and I was it just was it was something that I really stuck to, and I learned a lot of really valuable life lessons through the boxing, and it helped me get through a lot of personal adversity that I've had myself, and I'm a cancer survivor. It also helped me in my it just helped me with a lot of like with my drive, and second person in my family to ever graduate college. So I thought that was really great. And myself, I've always just wanted to be able to get back to some of these other kids that may not have the opportunities they may be in the same areas that I was growing up, and so I really wanted to try to help them with a lot of those life lessons. And then after I retired from boxing, I gave my life to Christ, and I really started making me think about that more. That my trainers, they taught me so many great things in my life, but if they'd ever led me to God, I would have followed them. And so for me, it's just a no-brainer that that's what I need to do. And I really kind of had that calling for a while, and God had placed it there, and all I kept thinking was, how can I do this? I can't do this. My wife and I, we have too much going on. I have wife and 3 kids, and I'm trying to figure out how I can make all this work out. And and I just felt like God kept pulling at my heart to get involved in boxing again and do that. And then we ended up, my wife and I have moved around quite a bit, and we ended up back here in Dallas, and the job that I had wasn't going real well, and we ended up deciding to part ways. And so my wife and I talked, and we're like, well, let's just try to work it out and figure out what we could do and try to get the boxing club going. And so I started that process and was training boxers in my garage and trying to, and it was so awesome. Some of the things that I was able to do, and how I was able to help some of these kids and even their families. I had a guy who was his son was I was training his son and sons, and he'd just been out of prison. He'd been in prison most of his life, and he hadn't really even been a part of his kids' lives, and he was struggling being a dad, and he was angry. He grew up a believer, but he was angry with God because the way his life had turned out. And I just talked to him quite a bit, and just talked to him about praying and getting trying to get their relationship back together. And he started doing that, and then it was just amazing just to see how how his life had changed, and how things had started to progress after he started, just by praying. And then he started going back to church, and just everything that, in his life started really turning around for him. And I still keep in contact with him. He's moved to Princeton, so I haven't been able to train his boys anymore, but we keep in contact, and he's actually trying to help train them right now himself. But with myself, just having this opportunity to teach these kids and reach them, and with the boxing club, I was training boxers in my garage and trying to figure out what to do. And my wife and I were without that income that I had, where things were getting really, really tight, and I had been praying to God. It's been going on about a year and a half, and with me trying to get a boxing club open and not really having the funds to do it, and trying to figure out where I should, what I should do, and so I had found Ring of Hope Boxing Club online. They just had their annual Night to Fight. That was last year. I believe it was in February, and I think in March I contacted them, and it was right at the same time I was really struggling with what I was supposed to do, and I was praying to God and asking Him, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Am I just reading things wrong? And what? And do I need to go back to work? Do I need to find a job? And about that time, I got a letter back from the Ring of Hope and asked to meet with me, and so we talked, and we really had a lot of the same vision, and they were really want to say a lot of the same things, just to reach these kids and help mentor them both physically but also spiritually. And
let me interrupt you just for a second. At this point, you wanted to start your own club, and you were looking for help and advice on how to do that, right?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for at first, was just help and advice. And when I talked to them, I asked them if they give that help, and they told me this: we'll help you with whatever way you want. If it's to open your own club, we'll help you with that. But we would, if you would like, we'd like to make you the next manager of a North Dallas boxing club. And we didn't really know where it was going to be, but we just started looking and praying about it, and and we ended up here in the colony. And
that's what I think is so amazing about your story, is that you were thinking about doing this, and God put this desire in your heart, and like you said, He was chasing after you to say, you've got to get back into boxing, and you had this passion about it, and you said, I'm going to do something about this, and you reached out to someone else and said, can you help me do this? And then they said, we were hoping to start a new club, and you might be a good match for that. And it's amazing to see God work that way, how it's you've got something in your heart, and they already wanted to do something here, and the way that just lines up is beautiful.
Yeah, it was really awesome, the way things that it came about, because I had looked around, and there wasn't really any boxing clubs that were doing what I wanted, what God and I had been talking about doing. We put this vision on my heart, for a couple years, and I was trying to figure out how can I make this work, and there was no model out there to find it, and until I found the Ring of Hope, until I found Stephen and the team there, and talking with them, and that they had the model, and so we've been working on that process, and just even making it more spiritual, and continuing to improve the process that we're already doing in the Dallas club. And so it's that's been the real exciting part, is that we're all just thinking about how we could do things even better, and just really trying to reach kids and their families. And that's kind of the mission, is to come into these boxing clubs and not only train these kids, but we'll hopefully develop relationships with them and their family, and lead them to walk with Christ. And that's ultimately what we want to do. Along the way, we may make some great boxers out of these guys, but I'm pretty confident in my boxing skills that I could train them to be really good. But ultimately, the most important thing is just starting them with a relationship with Christ. That's the most. So
that was one of the things that really made me resonate with you. Was from the beginning, you were talking about the power of those relationships, and how if your mentors had actually mentioned something about Jesus, it would have made such a difference in those formative years. And that's the kind of opportunity you want to give to these kids.
Yeah, exactly. I think as a kid, when you have your coaches there, and you really look up to them, and you have, as a coach, you have an opportunity to do something with that, and you choose what you want to do. If you want to just teach them how to be better at the sport, or if you want to teach them how to be better in life, and that's what I really hope to do, and that I can lead them, to more significant life, and through Christ.
Talk to me a little bit about the Hispanic culture and how they relate to boxing, and how it seems to be a more a part of the culture almost. It seems like, and especially in this community, and some of the things you wanted to do with showing the fights.
Well, I think that, a lot of people, there's a misconception that that boxing is kind of dying, in some cultures it actually is, but it's still really big in the Hispanic community, and they, really love a lot of boxing. And when we were looking around here, I actually seen that there's the Hispanic meat market across the street. I know there's a lot of the Hispanics here that would really benefit from, really would like boxing, and that would be a great way for us to draw them in. And there's just like, one of the big things when I first looked here was that I'd love to watch the pay-per-views, the boxing pay-per-views. And so I looked all around North Dallas, and because I didn't really want to have to pay $50 or $60 for it myself, so I thought, if I could find a place that offers it and pay a $10 cover would be great. And the only place that I know that even has any of these boxing matches and does that is Nick's across the street. And so I went over and watched those. And one of the things that I have so many ideas that what we could do with this boxing club, and how we could reach kids, and how we can make a difference. But one of the big things that I think you're referring to is that I would love to have like a night where at our boxing club where we have one of these pay-per-views, or we have one of these big boxing nights where these kids can come. And a lot of times they probably don't get to go see it because it's in a bar. But if they do, it's usually family members getting around drinking and smoking and just doing that thing, So it's not a good. So I want to really offer them a different environment that we could get together and have a boxing match, watch a boxing match, and have maybe cook out and have some dinner for them and watch the match, and they can enjoy it, and just really get to see a different environment than what they're probably typically used to, different than what I was used to when I grew up. We had big boxing matches. That's exactly what my family all did. There would, we'd all gather around the TV, but there was beer, there was food, and there's smoking, there's other things like that. So I really hope to there's a lot of different things we hope to do. I will hope to have training classes during the day for stay-at-home moms, or maybe a boot camp in the morning for dads. And I think there's a lot of different things that we would like to do in the boxing club. I don't know what all will happen. I'm praying about that, and God will guide us in that direction.
I understand you already have some offers for people to teach some classes. Was it a Zumba teacher or something?
Yeah, well, I've had some different offers for people to teach classes in ours, and Zumba and different.
Seems like the community is responding. The people that you talk to about this idea, they say, yeah, I want to be on board with that. So.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to be on board, and I think that it's going to be big. I've met with some of the leaders of the communities, with the city manager, and also with the police chief. And I haven't got a chance to actually meet him in person yet, but just doing a lot. I think it's important to have all aspects of the community involved, so that we could really the more kids and families that we can reach, the better. And that's the most important thing. And
now, what were you telling me about fathers and sons, and how they might have a chance to relate?
Yeah, that's another great thing, is that, a lot of times, I think it would be great for us to, we're also going to have a family membership where dads could train with their sons, and or it doesn't have to be dads and sons, but that's probably more the ultimate thing that would happen, is that a parent could train with their kids, and I think that's very important for stuff like that to happen. And one of the things I think I missed earlier with the Hispanic culture, and it's not just that, I think men in general, it's and that was my in my walk as well, it was harder for me to give up all control to God, because as a man, and I'm always think that I'm in control and that I can control everything, and so, I just giving it up to God was a very difficult thing for myself, and then, and letting Him be in charge of everything and turning that all over to Him. So I think with men, I think that in the boxing aspect, I think that a lot of the men could let their guard down and be receptive to developing a relationship with God, because sometimes it can be difficult for a man to let go of that control and put it all in God's hands and trust that He's going to provide and take care of everything. And so I think, like I was saying, as a man, you think that I can take care of this, I have to take care of that, and
it's all up to you.
It's all up to me, yeah. And that's what I believed for so long, that it was all up to me, and whatever I did, if I tried hard enough, I did enough, I could take care of it all. But I didn't realize that, I just need to put my faith more in God and let Him lead me. And
Now, if some of us are wondering, probably if we haven't given it much thought, probably we're kind of thinking, okay, boxing sounds violent. How are we going to have these kids, or how are we going to be witnessing for Christ and having kids punch each other around? And I loved how you answered that question for me. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, for me, I want to tell you guys that boxing is a sport, and when I don't teach kids to fight, I teach kids to box. And any two guys, or women, or whoever it is, anybody can fight, but not everyone can box. It's a skill. It's no different than football or baseball or basketball. It's just teaching skill, and also teaching some of the lessons that come along with that skill. And so anyone, I let people know that, and I actually will discourage the kids from actually fighting outside the ring, because it's not boxing. It's not about that. What we're teaching them, and it's all about learning that skill and becoming better.
You compared it to football too. You were saying that you could get more injured in a football game than you could in a boxing match. Personally, I had more injuries in playing football than I ever did in boxing. Besides, the nose. But I did have, I had knee and shoulder and, issues from there. And so where I didn't have any of that type of injuries in boxing. And so I think in every sport there is somewhat of a risk, but once again, I believe I'm a great coach, and I'm going to teach them how not to get hit. Well, I think, it makes sense when you put it in the perspective of other sports. Lots of people send their kids out to play football, and they get all kinds of injuries. And so boxing, you basically got two pillows on your hands anyway. So it takes it down a notch. So I think if we haven't really given it that kind of thought, it sounds like, well, I don't want kids hitting each other, but.
And that's the great thing is, like, USA Boxing has done a lot of things to try to improve the safety of the boxing. And myself, like, if the kids are ever sparring, I know I've been doing this 30 some years, and when I can see when a kid is hurt and when they can and cannot go on, and and it's always safety is the first and most important priority in that aspect of the sport. Is we definitely don't want anyone getting hurt.
And you said too that you've even got a kind of a system. You pretty much all of the matches with kids are going to be just kind of a decision of who won. You're definitely not looking for one kid to knock out another kid. So you're looking for basically kind of the purity of the sport, right?
Yeah, it's just it's not about going out there and to beat up or hurt one of the other kids. It's about just going out there and outperforming them, and that's the main thing that we're looking for.
Now, you mentioned trying to get involved in the schools and hoping to give them a chance to do some kind of after-school activities. And you also mentioned you've got kind of a prayer room in the corner, and you're going to have different stations. Can you kind of walk us around, sort of mentally, of the different things that you're going to have going on and the different available services and workout activities?
Well, it's going to be kind of a circuit training that we're going to have, and we'll have it where where we could do where the kids will punch the boxing bags and the speed bags, and then we also have the ring, and we'll have workout equipment there, some weights and some ellipticals and treadmills. We have some of that, and then we also we do have the prayer room where some of the volunteers can come in, and like first of all, like myself, it's a great place before we practice for volunteers and myself to pray to start off even before we even meet with the kids and pray with them, but to pray with each other that we do everything that represents everything that He wants us to do that day. And so we'll start off with that, and it's also a place where if a kid does need some advice that we have, someone could go in there, a volunteer, and just talk with them and are their family members or whoever it is. And we have it where it's going to be glass all around the outside, so it's you can see what's going on. You may not be able to hear, but you can just see that people are in there talking, so that there's no fear of going in there with the kid and behind closed doors and stuff like that. So we've tried to cover everything and make sure that we all safety is covered. And once again, I say that's the most important thing. And whether it's boxing safety or if it's a personal issue, that safety, we'll make sure that everything is covered there.
And you've had the ring in Dallas going on for how long now?
I believe it's been 5 years.
Okay. So yeah, it's a kind of a proven formula at this point that it works, and I liked hearing some of those testimonies from the kids and the families. That was pretty powerful. So how can we get involved? I mean, talk to us about what it means to be a coach and what we could do.
We have some different volunteer opportunities that are available right now, and those we have if you want to be a coach, we have a coach, our training coach, if you want to work out with the kids and train with them. And then we have a facilities coach, and so if you want to just come help clean up, or if you want to work our registration desk area where you can help out if kids are going to sign up. And then we have like a family coach, someone who would just kind of meet with the kids and their families. A lot of times we have while the kids are training, a lot of the families will come and watch the kids box, and so we just want someone that can hang out and get to know the families, and as we develop relationships with them, then you could just get to know them and help point them in the right directions, and maybe even invite them to a church service. And but there's, I want to say that I know a lot of people think, well, I don't know anything about boxing, or I'm not the greatest in working out or athlete. And the main thing is if someone wants to just really pour themselves into these kids and their families, that's the main thing. And you want to develop relationships. I think relationships are the most important thing. I mean, if you look all through the Bible, what did Jesus do? He's just all about making relationships with people. And now with the boxing club here, we have an opportunity to start these relationships with these kids and their families. And so as far as boxing coach, I know a lot of people think, well, maybe I can't do that. Well, we're going to have a training that I'm going to teach you some things to look out for, and what the pointers to talk to the kids and tell them. And then we also have a person on our team that is in charge of all the spiritual aspect of that team, and he's going to also teach you how how to engage the kids and how to talk to them from a spiritual aspect, and I think as long as you're willing to do that, that's fine. I'll be the main coach, and I'll be kind of around, and I could help in any aspect, but you'll improve, and we'll get you'll be able to. I think we'll together we can make you into a good coach, and it doesn't. It's just the main thing is just about developing those relationships, and and the coaching part of that. We'll work together on that, and I'll help you be successful in that as well. And then the training coaches is for if there are like a younger guy or someone who is an avid person, athlete who likes to work out. I think that relationships are really built. Strong relationships are built when you work out with someone together. And if we start off and you're over jumping rope with these kids and they see you sweating and working through there, I really think that really goes a lot further when you offer some advice or you talk to them about what's going on in their life when they know that you've been sweating with them. So I think that when you're walking through life with them, I think that really goes a lot further. And
Yeah, it sounds like it could be as simple as just holding the bag while they're hitting it, and then just talking with them, just kind of sharing what's going on in their life.
Yeah, we also are going to have Bible verses around on the walls, and those will be kind of talking points where we could use those as opportunities to engage kids. Those Bible verses while they're training, and we'll talk about that before maybe the 5-minute meeting in the prayer room before we start the training. We'll talk about those talking points that the Bible verses that we could use those to engage the club. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing now, it's new. Like I said, there's not a lot of clubs out there doing it, and a lot of the things that we're doing, we're going to work through a lot of that and get together and figure out the best way to just reach these kids and their families.
So I understand you've had some setbacks before the actual launch date. So do you have a rough estimate now for when you're going to open?
I'm almost scared to even predict anything. It seems like every time I do, something else happens. But I think that a lot of that is the enemy just wanting to delay what's going to happen because he knows that we're going to do a lot of really great things in the community. Right now, I'm hoping a month. We could, maybe just a little bit longer than that too. Trying to be realistic. Ultimately, I'd like to be open in a week, but I know that that's not going to happen.
Poor Rich has been through it because he's had to deal with a lot of the same things that we can relate to. I mean, dealing with real estate issues, leasing issues, air conditioning, build-outs, cleanup. There was a fire, I don't know if you're aware, but it was down a couple of doors there. And the very people who were supposed to be helping him, they were helping us, and then sometimes by virtue of that, they were neglecting Rich's poor folks. So it's like, we're all like, oh, this is great, thanks so much. And then Rich is like, it still smells like smoke in here, guys. So they had to get that cleaned up. And now he's working on alarm systems and still building out quite a bit. And there's still a lot left to do, right?
Yeah, and myself, I'm not a construction person. I don't always know how quick these things will happen. But we're, I'm pressing as much as I can. I know the Dallas club, took 4 or 5 years before it opened when they first originally started talking. So, we're around a year. So I think we're going a little faster than that. And I like to think that maybe a little bit was from the pushing that I get, but it all happened in God's time, and we've had some delays, and sometimes it's been really frustrating to me. But every time there's this moment where I look at it and I'm like, all right, God, now I see why you delayed us. Whatever, some of the things that have happened with, like just with the gym, different things that when we were going through the negotiation with the realtor, and there was some things that happened that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, God, now I understand why you delayed this. And it's always, you know, I always want, you know, I just have to realize that He's in charge and that he'll get it open when it needs to. But right now I'm hoping for everyone, as far as volunteer aspect, that we, you know, hopefully within a month and a half, that we'll have it open.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I was telling him that, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a movie in the 80s with Tom Hanks and I think it was Shelley Long called The Money Pit. And they bought this house and it was in terrible, terrible shape. And then they would start to renovate it and it would turn out it was even worse than they thought. And so they had these contractors and they would tell him every time Tom Hanks would ask, you know, how much longer is it going to take? They'd say 2 weeks. And you'd look at this disaster of a house. Now, how on earth in 2 weeks? They must be great. And then they would scroll through the calendar and you'd see the big, you know, it's like 3 months later. And then he'd wake up in the morning, he's brushing his teeth, and he'd see like a painter right outside his bathroom window while he's trying to brush his teeth. And he'd say, how much longer are you guys going to be? And they said, 2 weeks. And so throughout the whole movie, it was about 2 weeks. So every time Rich tells me there's another setback, I'm thinking it's 2 weeks. It's just going to be another 2 weeks. So, you know, hopefully not 4 years, 2 weeks, but hopefully more like a month and a half. So I think it'd be a really good idea if, you know, since Rich and his wife are here and Stephen and his family are here, if we could just kind of gather all around them and pray for them and their effort and their ministry and, you know, show them how much we care about what they're doing and about the community. Would that be okay with you?
I was also going to say that if anyone is interested or knows of someone that may be interested in being a volunteer for us, if you go to our website, ringofhopeboxing.com, under the volunteer tab, we have a application on there, and if you just submit it there, then that'll kind of start the process of getting you to be a volunteer. And I know that a lot of people are thinking, I don't know how much time I have, if I have the time. You know, don't worry about that. We'll just get started out, and I think once you get in there and you get to working with these kids and their families, and you're gonna love boxing. You're gonna come in here and you're gonna say, you know what, this is great. I'm really glad that I'm doing this, and you're gonna make the time to come in there and train and work with these kids, and because it is a really unbelievable experience to build to work with them and help them and see their progression. And it's a really amazing thing that you'll be very happy that you did it. And
absolutely, amen. Well, thanks for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Why don't we just circle up around their family?